Oh, Jesus Christ. Thank you. Oh, God. The computer works. It works. It's alive. Alive, I tell you. Welcome to the Tim Anderson Podcast. I'm Tim. That's my buddy Ryno over there on the left-hand side of my computer screen. Ryno, you're injured, but thanks for being here.
Yeah, I'm all right. I coughed too hard this morning at 2:30.
Oh, you're that old.
So
I was trying to figure out what your exact age was. You are the age of, yeah.
I was like a 3-minute straight coughing fit, and I just couldn't stop. And now I can't move without pain in the right side of my ribs.
I was going to say, I was trying to figure out if I had gotten to, or if you and me were both now at the I injured my back lifting luggage age, or if we were in the I sneezed and threw my back out age, or what age we were in.
Done
we're
that
close to that
already. That's the sneezing so hard my back goes out is absolutely something I've already done. I've had sneezes that have decommissioned me for days.
Oh my God. Those are the best. Those are hard. You can't ever tell anybody you did that too, by the way. You can't never go anywhere in public and say, yeah, I sneezed and now I can't go anywhere for 3 weeks. Sorry.
I, of course, have my lovely wife who knows that this stuff has happened and every single time tells me without fail, if you didn't sneeze with the force of a jet engine, that might not happen. Unfortunately, I am a father now and I can't not sneeze with the force of a jet engine.
Well, you can't hold it in, Lauren. Speaking of which, Lauren, in the middle part of my screen today, Lauren Nelson Cain back in the pod for the first time in 2025. Lauren Nelson Cain has joined us.
Yes. Happy to be here. We're talking about something a little bit different today, kind of.
Different, but not really. It's the second annual.
Yeah, that's true. Not gonna lie to you, I was much more into the movies last year. This year was kind of a slog, so we'll see how we get through this.
Well, bless your heart for even watching them, for watching most of them. The one person who watched pretty much damn near all of them is back for the second annual Quad Pod Oscars pod. It's Alison Wonchoba. Of course, you can find on AlisonWonchoba.medium.com, where she has written about all of these movies, and you can go find her reviews of them there. Alison, welcome back to the pod.
Hi, Tim. So happy to be back. Yeah, I watched every single Best Picture nominee this year, and I'm going to actually concur with Lauren and say that I feel like last year's picks were stronger. And I don't know if this is because one of those nominees this year is Emilia Perez, which we will get into in depth. And that might have slogged down the entire process. But in general, I feel like this year's nominees, not just Best Picture nominees, but just nominees in general.
It doesn't excite you.
The thing is, we've always known that the Academy has been political, in terms of people choosing certain nominees because they know a guy who knows a guy who knows that kind of thing. That's not talking about blue versus red kind of no. It just feels like this year was more glaringly apparent, or at least, to be generous, it feels more like a lot of these nominations were more out of favors for the filmmakers instead of this film was genuinely good. Because you look at the sound category, for example, and
you are looking at the sound category. I am.
For example, Nosferatu is not on there when it absolutely deserves to be on there, but Emilia Perez is on there. Isn't that, which baffles me a little bit. I can't remember. The other thing too that I thought was a snub was Margaret Qualley is not on the lead supporting actress, just supporting actress category, but Isabella Rossellini is. Rossellini?
Oh my God. Yeah.
Which again, she's a legend. Her parents are legends, but I think that was come on.
Boy, you already talked more about this than I can even begin to understand. Lauren, please get back in.
We can talk a little bit more about this when we get into discussing Conclave. But yeah, Isabella Rossellini, amazing in everything she does. She has no screen time, no lines. She's so barely important to the film.
She is the brooding mother superior. Good job.
The strong, silent type. That's kind of my thought right there.
Got that covered, But she really has absolutely nothing to do in the movie, and she's only important in one brief scene at the very end. It could have, quite frankly, been anybody.
Hey, no. She made those photocopies like a champ.
Good. Yeah, I'm sure Isabella Rossellini actually made those photocopies.
How do you get the Xerox machine to work? I don't know.
She showed the good cardinal, the dean of the College of Cardinals, how to get those damn things copied.
And not everybody knows how to work that kind of technology at that level or that skill. I mean, come on now. I was at a speech tournament yesterday and I couldn't solve the printer if my life depended on it. I mean, not everybody knows how to do that.
As someone who worked on school printers for a number of years, I can tell you that the percentage is something around 20%. So
what you're saying is that it's not nothing. It's not nothing that she was able to figure that out.
No, the fact that she can portray 20% of the population with such accuracy is crucial.
Award worthy. Yeah.
Oh, and so we're going to get our Masters, not our Masters picks, our Oscars picks. We'll be back next month for the Masters picks. Lauren will be here to talk golf in a month and make the Masters picks for us. It'll be pretty good.
I totally know that.
We are recording this, just for everybody's record, in case they're catching the pod a little later. We're recording this at 1:00 in the afternoon Central Time on Oscar Sunday. We were going to have this up last night. My computer decided to shit the bed, for lack of a better term, which I hate to say that in front of Ryan and Lauren because I know they've dealt with that as parents in the last year or two of their lives as parents. So I don't want to have to. I don't say that lightly, but here we are. So we're dealing with.
It's very traumatic. It's very traumatic.
It's tough.
That you brought that up.
I'm sorry. Forgive me. So here's how the Oscars pod works. Here we don't spend time now. Alison, if you really want to break down the sound Oscars and the whatever, Alison will write a separate article on Medium for you to go read just for those picks. But we're going to stick to the big picks here on this pod just for time purposes. And we'll get into some of the film specifically as we let Alison and Lauren, really our film experts, break this stuff down. Ryan and I are going to eat ice cream sandwiches and defer to the experts in this pod quite often. But we'll go through the big categories. We'll talk about the individual movies for Best Picture a bit and try to give you the experts will give you their picks for tonight and see how it goes. And then obviously we can check on that later on and see about our accuracy and see how we did. I think we did pretty darn well last year, if I'm not mistaken, right? We pretty much nailed it.
I've deleted all of that information and I didn't listen to our Oscar pod last year because I'm amazing at research. So I'm going to assume that we were 100% accurate.
I think Alison and I talked about this, though. I want to say that we were fairly accurate, weren't we, Alison? I thought we called this pretty good.
Pretty good. Yeah, and I listened to it last year. It was a really good discussion for nothing else.
Yes, if nothing else, it was just a jovial conversation about film. And that's all we really care about. So let's start with Best Supporting Actor. And I'll give you the nominations. So I'm going to read the noms for everybody who didn't follow. And then I'll kind of defer to the experts and we'll let you guys fire away. Best Supporting Actor, we have Yura Borisov for Anora. Kieran Culkin, a Kieran Culkin sighting, by the way. In A Real Pain, Edward Norton, A Complete Unknown, Guy Pearce, The Brutalist, and Jeremy Strong, The Apprentice. Some old school names there for those of you who like old school movies, like Edward Norton, Guy Pearce are on that list. Guy Pearce is in the headlines for other reasons because apparently him and Kevin Spacey are fighting. Kieran Culkin, had a career many years ago. What?
So go Guy Pearce.
Go Guy Pearce. Yeah, I guess. I concede that Guy Pearce is the pick to win in the argument. Still like Kevin Spacey better as an actor. But still, that's just me. I think. But anyway. But Yura Borisov, not a pick I know a ton about, and Jeremy Strong don't know a ton about. So, Lauren, I'll start with you. Where do we see this? Kind of how did you come down on this particular category?
So I think based on how the other award shows have been going, I think Kieran Culkin is going to take it. And that's not for nothing. I did watch A Real Pain, and it's a nice kind of short, succinct film. Almost, me personally, wish it would have gotten a Best Picture nomination. I don't think it would have won at all. But It's kind of a beautiful film. Jesse Eisenberg, I think, directed and wrote it. Offered the role to Kieran Culkin. The two of them play cousins who are on journey to Poland to kind of visit their grandmother's old town and area. And Kieran Culkin is just a really emotional guy, and what that spans the breadth of all of the emotions, right? He's really fun, and he's super jovial and super funny, and he takes things so hard, and he's not quiet about it either. And I think it's really beautiful to see that from him. I mean, I think that he is just kind of Kieran Culkin in everything. He's got that kind of like ADHD energy about him, you know? But it's kind of perfect in this film, and I think he showed a bit of a side of himself that I haven't seen. I love him in this movie. So if he wins it tonight, I won't be mad. Yura Borisov is new in Anora. I like him in Anora. I'm not a huge fan of the movie. I mean, I don't think it's bad.
Yeah.
I agree.
Yeah. I think that there's pieces of that movie in general that it just feels like we could dig deeper here, and we're just not doing it.
I absolutely agree. We'll get into Nora later, but I could get into my opinions on the supporting role unless you have more to say, Lauren.
Not here. I'll dive into Jeremy Strong because we saw The Apprentice too. Jeremy Strong is so creepy. So like as a person, but also just in this role as Roy Cohn. He's pitch perfect. And he also manages to make you feel bad, like empathy for Roy Cohn, but also you're angry at him because he's in a prison of his own making. Jeremy Strong is absolutely fantastic. If he walked away with it tonight, I wouldn't be mad. I do think it's going to be Kieran Culkin over him, though. And I actually think that's just like, personally, I think that's really funny. But yeah, I wouldn't be mad if it was Jeremy Strong. Absolutely insane performance.
Alison, your thoughts on who wins and anything you want to throw in?
I'm going to agree with Lauren in that Kieran Culkin is winning tonight. He is by far the heavy favorite. When I saw his performance in A Real Pain, I'm going to concur with Lauren again in that he does bring that kind of like everything hard on his sleeve kind of energy. At the same time, I saw a lot of his Succession character in that role, and that might just be a Kieran Culkin-ism. So, it'll be interesting. I think that Kieran Culkin is just a hot commodity in Hollywood right now for the Succession, success. People really liked his character. With that said, he is not my favorite on this list. Again, I won't be mad if he wins tonight, and I certainly expect him to, but I liked Guy Pearce in The Brutalist a lot. I can't speak too much on Jeremy Strong's performance because I haven't seen The Apprentice, but I've heard nothing but great things about it, and I want to distance myself from anything Trump right now, but
fair.
But excuse me, I would expect to see that movie someday because of the performances. Edward Norton in A Complete Unknown, that movie in general was just so bland to me. But Edward Norton was at least a highlight in that movie. Yura Borisov, again, his performance was not blowing me away. I think he's more on here because Anora is a runaway indie hit this year, and this is a character who brought the most heart in the film towards the end. I guess he wrapped up some themes, so okay, he's on here, but I feel like it would be more appropriate for the guy who played Vanya in that film to be on here as the supporting. I thought he did a better job. I think it's his name.
Totally agree.
Mark Erlings. I'm so sorry, but Vanya from Nora, I thought did better than Yura.
How dare you not know your low budget independent films that people push to the moon around Oscar time? How dare you?
He's been considered the Russian Timothy Chalamet, so
that totally makes sense.
That's bold. That's a bold statement right there. Wow.
But those are my opinions.
Very good. So we got 2 picks for Kieran Culkin tonight. Ryan and I's picks don't really matter on this. I'm deferring to you, the experts, most of the night. Kieran Culkin, obviously, hey, he has something he can hold over his brother Macaulay for 1,000 years if he goes ahead and wins that one. Be like, hey, you got Home Alone, I got an Oscar. What do you think of that? How do you like them apples? Anyway, so that would be a fun Thanksgiving in the Culkin house would be really entertaining. I
feel like charades would be really high stakes.
Yeah. And you know what? I will say, though, it's good to see Edward Norton, though, in kind of a big film, because I feel like he really disappeared for a stretch. I just didn't see as much of him. I'm hoping there's this second act of Edward Norton's career, because I liked the first act. Like, I really enjoyed what he put out. He's a little different. He's a little weird. Some people think he can be a little arrogant at times, but I always liked his work. And I always felt like he produced really good films. Pretty much every film he made, I found myself liking more often than not. And then he just sort of fell off the earth for a little while there, where he just wasn't in anything. Granted, so much of it was because there were superhero movies and he was the Hulk and then he wasn't the Hulk. And then there's not a lot of other ways to get back in. So I'm okay with him getting this second run, and I'd like to see him have some success with it.
I like Edward Norton. I do feel like he has a bit of an archetype. He tends to gravitate towards roles where he's not playing like an amazing person. And
True.
what I liked about him in A Complete Unknown is that he plays Pete Seeger, who is a very pleasant person.
Likable. Yes.
Very nice. An activist trying to use folk music to kind of spread the message of peace and love and unity. And also kind of a mentor figure to Bob Dylan. And I found at no point in the movie, we'll talk about this later. At no point in the movie do I disagree with his stance on things or the way that he speaks to people or treats people. It's almost weird to see Edward Norton be so gentle. But I really appreciated that performance. I have my own feelings about the movie in general, but I thought he did a fantastic job.
Yeah, I agree. So, really quickly, Edward Norton was in Glass Onion, the Knives Out sequel recently, and he was in Asteroid City. So he's been working with Wes Anderson. He's been working with Rian Johnson. He's been creeping in back to the mainstream. He never actually left, but I understand completely where you're like, feels like he went out of the zeitgeist because he hasn't been doing lead roles lately.
Yeah.
He's been doing a lot of supporting roles. This is no exception, but I agree with the fact that, this particular role felt a little bit more out of his wheelhouse because he's not like adding a monkey wrench to anything in the plot.
Yeah.
He's not a troublemaker. He's not a smarmy guy or anything like that.
He's uber likable.
Yeah.
Uber likable. Like him. Yeah, that's good. And it's nice that he's doing stuff like that because I think it shows his range. Right? That he can play these a-hole guys. And now that he's gotten older, he's kind of finding this different spot in his career. It could be very interesting to watch. Like I said, I'd like a good second act of Edward Norton. I'm in on that. Yeah. So let's move to Best Supporting Actress. Alison, did you think you'd live in a world where Ariana Grande would be an Academy Award nominated actress, as she is up for Best Supporting Actress for Wicked, Monica Barbaro for A Complete Unknown, Felicity Jones for The Brutalist, and Isabella Rossellini for Conclave, Zoe Saldana for Emilia Perez. I gotta make sure I say it right for Alison, because if I don't and I just say Perez, Alison will be like, you're not saying it right, you're doing it wrong.
That movie doesn't really deserve it.
Well, the people of Mexico deserve a little bit, but I understand. Ariana Grande, did not expect her to get a nomination in my lifetime, but she does deserve this nomination. She will
was
not
quite
win.
Good.
She will not win. You're right, but she was great as a Glinda. She really captured that bubbly Barbie witch energy. And she really embodied the role without it being too derivative of like a Kristen Chenoweth or anything like that from the Broadway musical. So she really brought her own. But at the same time, you're not like seeing Ariana Grande on screen. You're seeing Glinda. And I thought her chemistry with Cynthia Erivo, who played Elphaba, was great. And it felt like genuine embodiment of the character. Going on, though, to the other... excuse me, did you have something to say?
Oh, yeah. Sorry.
You might as well talk Ariana Grande for a second before we make a pick.
Okay, so I know that my opinion of this differs from other people. So
That's
sorry.
okay.
I think that, honestly, when they announced that she was going to be Galinda, my issue was, I don't know if she has the acting chops for it. I knew she could sing, right? I actually have after watching it, an opposite problem. I actually think that acting wise, she is really funny. She's doing a fantastic job. Singing wise, and this is just, okay, for those of you who don't know, I went to school for music. Singing wise, she's driving me nuts. And it's not that she can't hit the notes. It's that Ariana Grande is an incredible impressionist. And I think she's doing an impression of somebody who sounds like an opera singer, as opposed to just hitting those notes as herself, which we all know she can do. So watching the movie, it's like, man, I actually think she's very funny, and she is doing something new and different in her. But then the singing to me sounds like she's putting it on. And I can tell because her jaw is clenched. Sorry, I'm so picky about this performance.
Jesus, I was going to say, this is starting to get pretty intense here. Hang on.
Her jaw is super clenched while she's singing. Sorry, she kind of drives me
Don't
nuts.
apologize. This is why we have these discussions. We like to get into the nitpicky stuff. Those are the best kind of discussions.
And I'm not rote on musical. I mean, I've sang and I've done musical theater, but I'm not rote on jaw strength and positioning.
Like,
and
every time I've watched it twice because I had to make Ryan watch it a second time, and every time I look at her, I'm just like, man, if I was her voice teacher, I would just go to her face and I would yank her jaw down, like, open up. Oh God, it drives me crazy. Sorry. So she annoys me a little bit in this category, but I understand.
So, okay. So Alison, to your pick here, right? As you go through your kind of the list here, we talk Ariana Grande, obviously, but you see the other names on this list. Kind of what sticks out, and where's your direction heading into tonight?
Ariana Grande would be a runaway upset win.
Yeah.
I think she has like star power, and I think that there's enough discourse around her performance for people to be like, oh, she was really good. Whereas someone like Monica Barbaro, who played Joan Baez in A Clean Plate or Isabella Rose, or any of these other nominees, not as much. With that said, I think the award tonight, and I don't love this, is going to go to Zoe Saldana for Emilia Perez. I just think that is where the Academy is going to go, because she was the best part of that movie. And as it's perceived, that to say that Zoe Saldana's performance was Oscar worthy is completely stretching it. Looking at her body of work, her incredible body of work. She was in Avatar. She was in Guardians of the Galaxy. All of these blockbuster hits and then some. And she's getting an Oscar for a decent performance in an otherwise undeserving movie.
It's the Training Day move. It's the Lifetime Achievement Award. But is it too early for that?
I think there's a lot more opportunity for Zoe Saldana to get an Oscar, even for a lead. I could see her leading something, and she's going to get an Oscar for Emilia Perez. But Felicity Jones in The Brutalist, while it has that Oscar Beatty vibe of her being in a wheelchair for most of the movie, and she's only in it for half, her character, again, has that element that Adrian Brody brought in that film, where she felt like a real person. Like, it felt like this could have been a biopic in and of itself. These are fictional people, though. It's like Tar with Cate Blanchett, where Cate Blanchett felt like a real person. Like, Tar was real, and she wasn't. And Felicity Jones's character, I just liked. She's smart. Her husband clearly respects her for being smart. She her disability, I have issues with disability being represented in film by non-disabled actors, but I can kind of understand why they selected someone who doesn't have a disability for this role, because her condition is supposed to get progressively better. Which, again, you could go the route of you can take a disabled person and make them act, I guess, more disabled and then improve to where she starts off with a wheelchair and she ends with a walker. Find someone who needs to use a walker and then go from there. But again, I understand how marketing works in movies.
And I'm less bothered by that than I think folks like you and Lauren, and definitely you and Lauren are. I'm less bothered by that because it's acting, it's theater, and we're all playing something we're not, when we do this stuff. And while I get that point, I get that argument, and I understand it. I just think, like, do I think we should always try to make opportunities for disabled actors to be able to do things? Absolutely. Like, I'm here for it. I want those chances to be provided. I also am not against just casting who you think is the right person for the job. Yeah, but that's kind of an old school thought.
And it's a realism thing where it's like, you know what? It's a matter of who's available, who knows who. And
Correct.
It's a larger issue of we just don't have a lot of roles for disabled people in general.
That's a fair comeback.
That,
we can have that conversation forever. 100%.
Yeah. So again, it's not like I'm going to put Felicity Jones on a stake for this at all, or the Brutalist for this at all, because she did do a good job. I think it's just a matter of an opportunity to continue that conversation, but to also see the forest for the trees when we have that conversation of like, yeah, it might have been better for a disabled actor to have this role, but what are the real things to talk about? Anyway, okay, Felicity Jones, great in The Brutalist. Isabella Rossellini, I already said my opinion about that. Monica Barbara, she was great as Joan Baez, but again, I think Margaret Qualley is definitely missing from this list. And again, let's hope that she has a big enough career where that makes up for that.
So Alison's pick is Zoe Saldana in a Lifetime Achievement Award situation. Lauren, do you see it the same way? I'm kind of seeing it as, hey, this is the modern Marissa Tomei moment, and this could be the Ariana Grande, because nobody on this list jumps out at you as like, oh, that's the one. That's a clear cut. I don't think anybody's got the buzz, got the juice, got the energy, etc. So I feel like this could go a number of ways.
I think in terms of like having taste of what should be here and what's actually going to happen they're two very different things. I agree with Alison. It should be Margaret Qualley. Just hands down. The fact that, and we'll get into this later, but the fact that The Substance was even noticed by the Academy is an achievement in and of itself.
Agreed.
It should get everything and more. It won't. But Margaret Qualley really should be winning this award. Of these picks, I agree. Felicity Jones, I think, oh man, I really like her character. And she's doing such a fantastic job. And like you said, for only half of the movie, she still makes such an impression. It's so beautiful and it's heartbreaking, but she's not, it doesn't feel like it's played for sympathy. Oh God. She does a fantastic job. If these were my choices and I got to pick, it would be Felicity Jones.
Me too.
All right.
But it will be Zoe Saldana because the Oscars are political and they're very stupid and they are obsessed with this movie. God knows why.
Is it the modern day? Is it like this maybe this decade's Crash? Like, I don't know if you were around, Lauren, to know, but like Crash got all this buzz, right? And everybody remembers it as like, oh my God, I got a million Academy Award nominations. It wins Best Picture. And everybody looks back on it and like, yeah, Crash kind of sucks. Like but it caught this fire at the wrong time. Is that Goose? Goose making a podcast appearance? I'm not sure. Ryan's off to yell.
I feel like this is worse than Crash because I think Crash did not offend entire countries the way that Emilia Perez did. Crash did not pretend to represent something like the transgender community and completely fall flat on its face. and tried to be genuine about what it was trying to. It was like more of a message piece than a character study or anything, just like Emilia Perez is. But this, again, we will talk more in length about Emilia Perez later. I could go on a runny rate train with this.
Yeah. If we want to get through the rest of this podcast,
I was going to say, I got to keep things moving here. Hey, God, Jesus Christ. All right. So Zoe Saldana's the pick. That is the pick tonight for Best Supporting Actress. We'll keep an eye on that one. Best Director, let's hammer that one out real fast. We have Sean Baker for Anora, Brady Corbett for The Brutalist, James Mangold for the Corbet.
I'm sorry. Corbet, yeah.
And I couldn't pick him out of a lineup. I got to be really honest with you. I've never seen a picture of this guy. I don't know who he is. He could stand next to Ryan and Lauren in a lineup, and I'd be like, yeah, I have no idea. I don't know who that guy is. James Mangold for A Complete Unknown, Jacques Audiard for Emilia Perez, and Coralie, how do you say that one?
Farge.
Yeah. See, I don't know any of them. I'm just kidding. And that's for the substance. For the substance. So I went with Alison last time. So Lauren, I'll start with you. Best Director. Is this a Jacques Audiard moment for Emilia Perez, or are we going somewhere else?
If it is, I'll eat my foot. I'll be so mad. Let me tell you what. I'll be so fucking mad. It's a possibility. I'm not going to say it's not a possibility. I think that guy.
Next podcast, stay tuned. Lauren will eat her foot live on this podcast.
If I ever see that douchebag, it's on site. What a piece of crap. I think, personally, if I know the Academy and I've been kind of paying attention, I think it's going to go to Brady Corbet for The Brutalist. Deserved. Very deserved. That film is... I really did not intend to like it. I was like 3.5 hours. Kill me.
Yeah, that's a death sentence for me on most films.
But unlike last year, we had Oppenheimer and Killers of the Flower Moon. Unlike those two films, I really feel like it utilizes all that time in a very intelligent way. And at no point do I feel like it's lagging or it's a slog to watch. I think that it's a beautiful film and it feels incredibly real. And I think he nailed that movie. I think it's absolutely beautiful. My personal pick would be Coralie Farge. The Substance is, bar none, my favorite movie of last year. Bar none. Just the weirdest movie you've ever seen. Every time I tell somebody to watch it, I don't know how to describe it, but it's so like brutally and comedically describes the feminine experience, the connection to beauty and youth that women and femme presenting people have. And I don't know, I showed it to Ryan and I'm like, I don't think this is for you. But I think I think you need to see it. And I made my sister watch it and I gave her basically no descriptors. And she was like, that was so weird. And I liked it. I really liked it. And I was like, yeah, it's so unique and so beautiful, so vibrant, so weird, so disgusting and so honest. I've never seen anything like it.
Boy, that is running the gamut of emotions coming from Lauren. To feel all of those things in 3.5 hours. I mean, that is really going somewhere.
That's not 3.5 hours. That's like a tight 2.
That's really this podcast most of the time. We're on for an hour, and Lauren runs through all of those normally when she's on. Incidentally, Coralie Farge, that is the same noise Ryan made when he sneezed this morning, and he ripped up the cartilage in his rib cage. It was very similar. It was just very loud. Anyway, Alison, do you see it the same way, or do you have a different route?
Yeah. I looked up. It's actually Coralie Farge. I am so sorry. But
Jesus.
No, I'm going to be the pronunciation police here.
Well, that is not the noise Ryan made this morning.
So
pretty close.
I am going to sound like I'm parroting Lauren here when I say I agree with everything you said. But even before we had this podcast, I was like, no, this award is going to The Brutalist. Brady Corbet. And it's so well-deserved, if for no other reason that it makes The Brutalist not feel like a slog. Even if you described the plot of The Brutalist and said on top of that it's 3.5 hours long, it's like everyone would be like, that's self-indulgent. Killers of the Flower Moon is 10 minutes shorter than The Brutalist. And you feel every single one of those minutes. It was a slog. And it was so disappointing because here was a movie that's about Native American story. Okay, The Brutalist didn't do that. It was a genuine character study that said, yeah, our length is justified. It really is. And it does help that it has an intermission, to be frank with you. But, Brady Corbet takes this very epic kind of like concept and says, you're going to see all of this. And that is a mark of a great director. With that said, again, I would love it if Coralie Farjah got it, because we don't have a lot of women directors who are nominated and who win. All that would be great. But again, the substance of all of the nominees, all the Best Picture nominees this year, that was the one that really was like, I'm going to take this home this year. Of all of the movies, that is going to stick with me. Even Dune Part 2, which blew my freaking mind when I saw it in theaters. There's nothing like the substance. And it's so weird because it's so dead simple. It is a simple, straightforward plot. We'll get into it more later. But Coralie Farjah had a clear vision and was like, we're going to throw everything to the wall. And it's going to not feel like all over the place. It's going to be organized chaos. It's not going to feel ridiculous. It is going to be like weird and even a little silly, but there's going to be a serious intent behind this art. If you look at the production design, if you look at the acting, if you look at all of that, it is an art piece, but it's not pretentious about itself. It has a message, but it's not forcing it down your throat in a way that's unbearable. It's just blunt about it. But those are my thoughts.
It also feels kind of weird, too, because it's one of those years where there isn't a Martin Scorsese, right? It's like for the first time in a long time, there isn't one of these big name, legendary sort of names in the director piece where you can be like, oh, well, I mean, there's the Martin Scorsese film or there's the
largest name on this list is ironically Jacques Audiard. That's the biggest name.
Yeah. And he's, for me, I don't know him very well.
I'm a little surprised that you don't get nominations for the director Edward Berger, who directed Conclave, who also won for All Quiet on the Western Front a few years ago. I'm a little surprised he's not nominated, considering how strong Conclave is as a movie. And then also the director for Nickel Boys isn't directed for how innovative the camera work in that movie is, despite the fact that it's not my favorite movie of the list. You would think for the just the innovation piece alone and the way that you're able to tell that story from a first person perspective, that's not worthy of a nomination, at least, even if they're not going to win.
It's a good question. And you could leave these names because these aren't big name guys. So like some of these feel interchangeable. Like you could take one out, put one in, and who's going to know, right? It's not like you feel like it's every year we're like, they nominated Woody Allen because they always do, or they nominated Martin Scorsese because they always do, or whatever, where you feel like they throw these throwaway picks into these veteran guys. They didn't have to do that this time. It felt like they could have gone any direction they wanted to. So this makes it kind of an interesting choice tonight. So we'll watch this one. So once again, the picks are officially, you're going with, help me out again. You guys saw the names. You want it to be Coralie Farjah, but you think it's going to be Brady Corbet tonight as our pick. Got it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Noted.
And let the record show, if it's Jacques Audiard, I'm going to punch him in the face.
Yes.
I'll eat my own foot. I'll punch him in the face.
You will eat your own foot first on the podcast, which, might give us a ton of listenership and viewership. I have no idea.
Buy a plane ticket to LA or France.
And then you will punch him
I'll hope the plane doesn't go down, and then I'll punch him in the face.
I was going to say, it depends on who's running the air traffic control system over there at that time. If it's international air traffic controllers, we got a fair shot at it. But if it's anybody local, I think you're pressing your luck on that one. But good luck. Let's go to the next one. You know, it's interesting that you brought up The Brutalist, though, because I think we'll go to Best Actor next. And when you go Best Actor, one of the top names on the list is Adrian Brody. And it just feels like he comes up. He's such a weird guy with a weird career. Like, I don't know how to define Adrian Brody's career because he's in one of these kind of films. It feels like every 5 years where he gets a lot of pub. It does well at the Oscar stuff. And then like he'll do 2 or 3 and you're like, God, he is freaking terrible. Like, and I don't know what to make of him. There's times where I think he's really good. And then there's times where like, he's pitching razors on Super Bowl commercials, and I have no idea what the hell we're even looking at with him. He's just weird. I don't get him.
Adrian Brody, every 5 years, just sort of cocoons into a beleaguered European Jew that's smoking on screen. And we shower him with Oscar nominations.
It's like his move. He's like, well, I'm heading into year 5 now, so it's time for me to go away for a little while, and I'm going to come back out. Something fresh, something exciting for everybody here at the Academy. You're going to love me. It's going to be
spin
great.
The wheel, spin the wheel, spin the wheel, spin the wheel. European Jew, everyone. European Jew.
Yes.
Holocaust surviving. European Jew.
Yes.
He's going to get he's going to get it. He's going to get his second Oscar for doing that. For doing that exact
Hey, you know what?
I'm joking.
You know what?
Yes.
Horses for courses, Lauren. We call this horses for courses.
He might be a one-trick pony, but it's a hell of a trick.
It's a hell of a trick.
Really good trick.
I can't even be mad about it. Okay. I know I'm supposed to come into these movies with a clean slate or whatever, but I'm a person. I have bias. I wanted to come into that movie and be like, God, this is going to be so much of a slog. And it's going to be so self-indulgent. It's Adrian Brody doing the exact same thing again. And oh shit, he's just so good in that movie. He's just so good. I like everything about him is so honest and real. His accent is so good. I mean, like, I'm not Hungarian, but
hey, we should only be casting Hungarian actors for these roles. Are you kidding me? When are we going to get it together? No, I'm just kidding. Go ahead.
But he's like, it doesn't feel, sometimes you watch like American actors do British accents and you're like, I can fucking tell.
Yeah.
That is not,
that is not how this... Kevin Costner. There's no way to talk about Costner on this podcast, but go ahead. Yes.
I will rant about Kevin Costner whenever I goddamn well please, because he's
fair
awful.
Enough. That's fair.
But yeah, Adrian Brody, like he's putting on this Hungarian accent and he's, speaking not his given language and his first language, and he's just doing it with such ease and reality. And oh my God, there's so many moments in the movie where I just like, it kills me. It kills me watching him. He might be a one-trick pony. It's an amazing trick.
Yeah, it's a hell of a trick. So it's really good. Other actors for the Best Actor nomination besides Adrian Brody for The Brutalist: Timothée Chalamet for A Complete Unknown, Coleman Domingo for Sing Sing, Ralph Fiennes. I think we say Ralph Fiennes for you. Yep. It's not Ralph. I've heard it. I've heard people say Ralph for years, but I've heard Rafe. I've been going Rafe. I've been a Rafe guy my whole life on Ralph Fiennes. I'm not moving to the Ralph thing. Ralph Fiennes for Conclave, and Lauren's favorite, Sebastian Stan for The Apprentice. Alison, is it Adrian Brody's to win tonight, or is there somebody else?
It's my pick. I think it's a lot of people's picks that he wins. Because, again, of all of those people, it's a strong list for what it's worth.
The Best Actor feels strong. Best Actor feels like a strong list.
A very strong, competitive list. But Adrian Brody really carries The Brutalist, which is an incredible feat for a 3.5-hour film. The other thing, too, is, with this film, with any role, really, the strength of a role also depends on the writing of the character and what the actor is given. But one of the things that this role is given is you are not just seeing Laszlo Toth in the now. You are seeing him in the now in relation to his past as a Holocaust survivor, as someone who is trying to bring his family back into America, as someone who was a celebrated architect before the war and everything, and how he is trying to struggling with coming out of his shell, if you will, and living through this PTSD and with heroin addiction and with these abuses and everything like that. All of these clusters, all of these complexities that he brings to the role without overacting. That's the other.
Yeah.
And bringing this guy to life in all his complete forms. And again, the accent, just absolutely incredible. The one actor who is on this list who I am surprised to see as much buzz as I am in terms of, he should absolutely win this. Timothée Chalamet for A Complete Unknown. Now, for context, we're all Minnesotans. Bob Dylan is like our prodigal son.
I think that's Prince, but sure, I'll give it to you.
My mom's orchestra teacher in high school was best friends with Bob Dylan as a child. He was childhood best friends with Bob Dylan. He would say Bobby and me stories. And, when I see Bob Dylan and what I think connected people to Bob Dylan in that era is that here's this unassuming guy who is fresh in the beatnik era, right? Of we're trying to be anti-authoritarian. We're trying to call authoritarians out on their shit, That's why folk was so powerful. It was all about the language. Here's a guitar and here's a poem that is just going to just speak to you. Bob Dylan, there's a reason why his career has gone on for over 60 years. There is no one like Bob Dylan. You don't have to love him, but that is why he spoke to the zeitgeist. I feel that Timothée Chalamet, and this might just be because he's been in so much stuff and he's just hot right now. He's good at exemplifying like the kid who moves to New York City and is really just a kid trying to make it. The thing that just holds him back, and this is through no fault of his own necessarily, is that this movie doesn't know how to capture what made Bob Dylan so great. Really.
I've heard this before.
Mm-hmm.
I've heard people say this about the film, Alison. The exact same thing you're saying, that it's just such a snapshot and they're moving so quickly through the details of his rise that they don't really dive into anything with any kind of depth. And that's sort of like, now it becomes a big mimicry thing, kind of like Bohemian Rhapsody was, where it was like, well, we're going to do this glossy overview, but you're going to love Rami Malek playing Freddie Mercury. No, you're good. I got you.
Oh, okay.
You let me decide when there's technical flaws around here, Alison. I'll tell you when there are some.
My computer just flashed. I'm sorry about that.
I don't care about your computer. Your computer does not matter. No, I'm kidding. No, when Rami Malek goes for Freddie Mercury, I think people just fell in love with this mimicry or this impersonation that he ended up winning an Oscar for really a pretty marginal film. It's not a bad film. It's just not a great film. And I wonder if that's the same thing with A Complete Unknown. Like, if he wins, it's because people are so in love with the impression, or they're so in love with sort of the mimicry of it that they don't bother to see the whole film as it is.
Yeah, and that's the thing. It's a Bob Dylan impression. He nails the voice, But that's what you see in any of these biopics. Austin Butler did a great Elvis Presley impersonation. You know what? You see that on the Vegas Strip.
Yeah. Sorry. That's exactly how I felt watching the movie. Was like, okay, so he's doing a very good job, like in terms of what he's given, in terms of sounding and behaving like Bob Dylan. But at no point do I feel like I know him. And again, that is a writing and a directing problem. But it's like, because of that, because we don't have like a deeper understanding of who he is within the film and just in general, because he's Bob Dylan, it can only ever be an impression versus Sebastian Stan's performance in The Apprentice. Now, look, I'm a longtime person in love with Sebastian Stan here.
No.
But he is hideous in this film. So understand me when I say this is like an insanely good performance. Versus Sebastian Stan in The Apprentice, that also spans the breadth of like, I think like 10, 15 years maybe. And towards the beginning of the film, you know, he's doing the face ticks that Donald Trump makes, but he doesn't really sound like him per se. And over the course of the film, he starts to kind of slowly morph into the Donald Trump that we've known since the late 80s. That performance to me is so much more resonant if we're talking about biopic versus biopic, because it's not just a straightforward impression of him. He's not, you know, doing Alec Baldwin on SNL. He's like diving into who this person is and becoming him over the course of the film, which I think is really horrifying and creepy to watch. And towards the end, the clip of him talking about his 3 rules has gone kind of viral, that he got from Roy Cohn, but of course he doesn't credit him. That's towards the end of the film. And it's frightening to watch. It's really frightening to watch. So I think even if we're going like head-to-head biopics, I don't even think Timothée Chalamet is the better choice.
The thing with The Apprentice, from what I understand, is that it is a genuine character study of Donald Trump, whereas A Complete Unknown, which I have seen, is a character celebration. And that is a completely different ball of wax.
Yeah. Yeah.
And
Not
Ryno,
necessarily in a good way.
Yeah,
Yes.
and Ryno, you were a big Ralph Fiennes fan, right? You really liked Conclave. I know you really have sung the praises of that film, and I don't think you think he's going to win tonight, but you know, I figure I'd give you the floor to kind of sell him for a second.
Yeah, I mean, I thought it was a fantastic, nuanced performance from him, kind of exploring this idea of navigating what is honestly some pretty intense corruption, politicking, and backstabbing without ever really having true ambition for something. There are those in the movie that kind of project their ambition for the papacy on him, and he tries to keep the peace and does a really good job of that. But it's honestly the best comparison in a lot of ways for this movie in sort of a fantastical sort of idea is Mean Girls, in just the way that this movie really subverts the outwardly projected masculinity of the College of Cardinals into sort of this bickering, stereotypically Hollywood feminine idea of, you know, gossiping, emotional, almost childlike group of men with secrets and betrayal and conspiracy and corruption it's really interesting. And I feel like this is way fresher for me right now because I watched it again last night and I'm cutting the script into a speech piece right now. So it's like top of mind for me, but it really is, I think it's my favorite movie of the year. I'm a sucker for religious dramas as it is anyway, but I really, really enjoyed Ralph Fiennes' performance. I thought that there were a number of very good performances in this movie because it is so character and dialogue driven, but his was just so deep and so nuanced in its wrestling with grief on top of responsibility. In a lot of ways, his performance reminds me of watching my mom plan my grandfather's funeral. And it's very reminiscent of somebody losing a very close family member and having all this stuff that has to be done while the world continues to turn around them. And I just thought he did a masterful job. And I love almost every role that he's ever done anyway, but
He's very good. I mean, he's just the most steady Eddie of the whole group, right? Where you can just count on he's going to be really good. Even if the film's not good, he's going to be good. He's the opposite of Adrian Brody. He's got a million tricks. Like, he is a multiple trick pony and can do anything. Just Adrian's trick once might be really, really good. So Adrian Brody is the pick across the board from our experts. Let's go to Best Actress. We got a couple left. Best Actress, Cynthia Erivo for Wicked, Carla Sofia Gascon for Emilia Perez. I'm trying to do this right for Alison. Mikey Madison for Honora, Demi Moore for The Substance, and Fernanda Torres for I'm Still Here. Alison, last time you were on my pod, you went on a rant about Carla Sofia Gascon. How is that going to play out tonight? And then where do you see this going?
I think she completely severed her chances of winning tonight because the controversy is just that great. But on top of that, she's the weakest on here. Again, her nomination is historic. I'm not going to overlook that. And I certainly hope that Hollywood does not take the wrong message from that. Like, keep putting transgender women, transgender men too, in roles. Like, you have one bad transgender person that shouldn't erase everything, So, no, I don't think she's going to win. I think it's just one of those things where Emilia Perez was just one of those, I don't know why, but so different and so bold as a movie that the Academy just wanted to give them nominations. But my pick here, I think Demi Moore is going to win. She's the favorite here. I would love it if she won. I'm also hearing buzz about Mikey Madison for Honora, which, again, I know that people who like Honora really love it. The Honora fans on Reddit are rabid, like death threat rabid. Like it's like high school. It's crazy. They need to calm down. I'm sorry. Mikey Madison brought a confidence to the role, and she was really good at. She and the guy who played Vanya were really good at exemplifying that kind of defiant stupidity of that age. Like, not being experienced enough in life to really have an authoritative handle on who they are as people and what's going on in their world, but thinking they know enough where, yeah, we're married, we're adults, leave us alone, that kind of thing. And she has the kind of overacting kind of bug. Like, there were moments in the movie where I think she overacted, and I think people are eating that up. I wish nothing but the best for her and for her career. I do think that she brought life to this role. And if she won, I would be like, okay. But I think it's going to Demi Moore. I wouldn't hate Fernanda Torres for winning for I'm Still Here, because what she did in that movie. So she played a mother who had to hold her family together because her husband was basically kidnapped and killed by the government. And she has to hold the fort down. And she brought this kind of silent grief throughout this entire film. And that's hard to do. Cynthia Erivo, I don't hate her being on here either. Like, she was great as Elphaba. She sung well.
Royal pain in the ass, though.
Yeah.
Honest to Christ, what a whiny baby she is. Oh my God, I can't take her.
She's a very annoying person, but
Really self-absorbed.
Unfortunately, just one of the most talented people to ever live.
Extremely talented, and I loved. She was really, really good in it. But holy crap, do you think I want to listen to 2 minutes of her accepting that award tonight? Absolutely not. That would be the most self-absorbed 2 minutes ever.
She won't win.
Yeah, she's not going to win. I think Wicked is just one of those movies that's on there for the production and the costume, I think, and the music too, I guess, but also to bring eyeballs to the Oscars. Why it is nominated as much as it is, but it's not going to win the big ones. Maybe supporting actress, maybe for Ariana Grande. But when Cynthia Erivo was defending people singing in the theaters for Wicked, that's when I was like, no.
You wouldn't tolerate that on Broadway, Cynthia. There's no way you would tolerate a room full of people at one of those Broadway theaters singing with you. There's no way in hell.
No way.
You do what God intended you to do, and you all go to Denny's at 9 p.m. after the movie and annoy the wait staff by singing out there.
And you stand on the tables and you sing La Viva Wham like God intended.
Yes.
That's right.
There you go.
Yes. And you eat that moons over my hammy. You calm yourself.
This podcast brought to you by Annoying Theater Kids. You can find us at Applebee's for half price apps.
Oh man.
Oh, truer words have never been spoken.
I do think Cynthia Erivo, and I have a slightly opposite problem in that I think that again, one of the most talented people to ever live, just an incredible voice, just insane.
Beautiful.
Acting wise, like the beginning of the movie, she feels like so understated that I'm like, girl, this is wicked. I understand this is a movie, but like, you can overact a little bit. That's fine. That's the vibe of this film.
Yeah.
Eventually, like towards the middle, that kind of goes away. But like in the beginning of the movie, when she's kind of like announcing herself, she's so like quiet and reserved. And I'm like, pump it up. You're driving me crazy. This is a Broadway musical. I know who you are. I know what you do. I know you can do this just fine. I don't know. That movie bugged me a little bit. Is it showing?
No, not at all. You have not.
Okay.
I feel like you've been right down the middle on that film the whole time. I don't think there's
I don't want to show my hand too much.
No, of course not. Of course not. So is Demi Moore your pick as well, Lauren?
Demi Moore is my pick for sure.
I'm okay with that. I'm okay with that. Lifetime Achievement Award, if nothing else.
With the caveat that it might go to Mikey Madison, but I totally agree with Alison. Demi Moore is like, I mean, The Substance is, like I said, one of my favorite movies of the year. Her performance in that movie is so good, so amazing. And she won at the Golden Globes. And I remember her giving a speech about how, once upon a time, some agent or somebody told her that she was just a popcorn actress. And I find that so weird because to me, growing up in a world where Demi Moore has always been an A-list star, she's like top tier, high end, pinnacle in my mind. So for her to be able to do something that like really spoke to her, and the film benefits from having specifically her in this role, it's perfect. And I really hope she wins. I think she's going to, and it will be very well deserved. I do have one thing to say about Carla Sofia Gascon, which is that
the floor is yours, Senator.
Aside from the fact that she's terrible in this film is awful, and everyone involved in it should be ashamed of themselves. I think that this is category fraud. And the reason I think that is because they knew that if they put Zoe Saldana as the lead of this film, I understand that the name of the movie is Emilia Perez. I understand that she plays Emilia Perez. But Zoe Saldana is the lead of this film. And they only put her in supporting actress because they knew that she could win there, and they knew that she could never win in actress. So they flipped them. I think it's category fraud. Next question.
Oh my God. Wow.
Zoe Saldana is certainly the lead in the beginning. And we'll talk more about pacing and writing about Emilia Perez later.
Will we? Nah, it's an hour and 6 minutes into this pod already. Do you got another? I don't have another hour. What are you talking about?
We still have to go through the pick, though.
I'm already eating a pashki here. All right, so
Ryan's already in. What is it? A pash? I thought we were having ice cream sandwiches.
Sorry, I've got pashkis. They're Polish donuts.
They're amazing.
Thanks for bringing one to me, asshole. But appreciate that. Thank you. It's fine. So let's go to Best Picture. Now this will take us a little bit longer, just because we have 10 films on the list. But of course, some are not even a factor, right? So some you just throw right out. But here's the list: Honora, The Brutalist, A Complete Unknown, Conclave, Dune Part 2, Emilia Perez, I'm Still Here, Nickel Boys, The Substance, and Wicked. So Who did I start with last time? Did I start with Alison?
I think
Lauren?
so.
Who did I start with? Lauren, 10 films here. What do you see?
I see The Brutalist winning. And I think that, like we've said before, insanely well deserved. One of the things that I like most about this movie, I know we've kind of talked about the pacing and the timing of it, which is done very masterfully, is that Brady Corbet started formulating the idea for this movie during the first Trump administration. That he said that in a couple of interviews so far. And one way that you can tell is that the film is not explicitly about the Jewish experience. It's more about the immigrant experience. It's a little more broad. They tell the story through the eyes of a Hungarian Jewish man who came to America directly after the Holocaust. But it's not it's not like just about that. It's about like the American dream and the way we treat immigrants in this country. So the whole first half is there is struggle and there are setbacks, but overwhelmingly the character works incredibly hard and he manages to find success and find people who will help him and help him build community. And then there's an intermission, and everything after that intermission is rough. So it's kind of the downfall, the deconstruction of this American dream, that we have this idea in our heads, very Great Gatsby-esque, of so long as you gain success, you'll just be successful and you'll be happy. And that's what America is for. And what I really like about this is that the entire second half is like, okay, so you can do all of those things, but then life continues.
Mm.
And you are still a Jewish Hungarian man in America in the early 50s. So what now? So you're still going to be treated horribly, deplorably. You're still going to have slurs thrown at you. You're still going to lose your job. You know, you're still dealing with the trauma and the PTSD of what happened before you got here. Life continues. And that's what I kind of really like about what that movie is trying to say and why it feels so different to me than other films that are about Holocaust survivors or just being an immigrant during that time. Is it's really a deconstruction of a much bigger idea that is still so disgustingly relevant right now.
Amen.
So for political reasons, for the reason of this is just an insanely good movie from all angles, I think it'll be The Brutalist. My personal favorite, like I've said, is The Substance. And I could wax poetic about it forever and ever and ever and ever and ever. I'm going to watch that movie all the time. We bought it. I've already seen it like 3 times.
Wow.
It's just the weirdest fucking movie. And it's so my bag. And every time I've shown it to another woman, they're like, it's funny. It's like really funny.
It's hilarious.
Yeah. It is, because I think, and it's so like directed, man, it's so like directed at like the dark comedy of being like a woman or a femme presenting person. Just like all these things that you know about yourself, and it's so disgusting. They're not afraid to get really gross and really weird and really funny. Margaret Qualley is this absolutely gorgeous woman and her teeth fall out. Oh my God. The ending is hilarious.
It's hilarious.
I think the ending is hilarious. And that's what I really like about the movie, is that there are so many movies that I tend to think are, well, these movies are directed towards a female audience, but I believe that men can enjoy it too. This is the first movie I've watched where I'm like, I don't think men might enjoy it. I don't think men are going to enjoy it the way that women enjoy it.
Yeah, I don't think Ryan and I are going to watch this.
As a man,
Yeah.
You've seen Ryan. You've seen this movie.
Yeah, I think it's a good movie. Not my bag. All right.
I live vicariously
is-
through Ryan. Ryan sends me text messages after he watches every movie that you force him to watch, Lord, and he's like, "All right, let me just be really clear what I just watched. This Emilia Perez, I might kill myself if I have to watch this one again. Oh, I watched The Substance recently, and oh my God, it's just a lot going on.
The best, if I had to describe The Substance in 5 words or less, I would use a single word, and that word is insane. That movie is completely unhinged in ways that I did not expect when we started it. And I look, I appreciate it. I think artistically it does what it's trying to do. Do I understand 100% of what it's trying to do? No, but it's not for me. So, if you like it, I'm glad. I'll be over here watching Conclave and my dad movies, falling asleep to World War II in HD for the same episode for like the last 6 days.
One of these days you'll get through that episode, Ryan. One of these days you'll do it.
One of these days I won't wake up to Stalingrad at 4 a.m.
I want to compare The Substance with Poor Things for a minute. Poor Things was last year's like feminist message film, what it's like to be a woman. And I loved Poor Things. And that also was a weirdo arty movie. I would even say it's more epic than The Substance by all means. The thing with The Substance, here's the thing. You have to approach it as a fable. It is completely a fable. It is a classic magic potion story. It really is. Because it doesn't matter how the substance works. It doesn't matter what the rules are, like why they are the way they are. It's just follow these rules 1 week on, 1 week off, stabilize yourself for your clone. And if you follow the rules, you'll be good. And no questions asked. Well, in true fable fashion, it breaks those rules and things go to hell. And it's so fun to see them go to hell. I mean, I was thinking about this is very reminiscent of Sam Raimi. This is very reminiscent of Frankenhooker or those body horror films. But it's also high art. It's not at the level of a B, a B film, but it balances on serious and unserious. It says so much, some of which are underneath the surface. And at the same time, it has so much fun with itself that it's listen, we're going to shower the audience with blood at the end, and we're gonna have Demi Moore's face crawl on the Hollywood Walk of Fame, those kind of things. One of the things that I picked up from The Substance, and I'm gonna sound so much like a Lauren. We're on the same wavelength. This was my favorite.
Hey, you two should go hang out more. You guys should go get You should go to Perkins tonight. They can go get a chicken tender melt. Ryan and I will just go and do other things.
To just wrap things up really quickly on this end, Brutalist is my pick as well for winning. That's what I would prefer to win. It is the most best picture-y of all of these nominees by a mile. Anora, for some reason, is getting more love than I thought for this category. A lot more people than I thought are saying, oh, Anora's going to take it home. Anora's the shoe-in. I'm really shoe-in? Anora? I like the movie. It's not a bad movie, but it's Cinderella gone wrong. That's what it is. It's funny-ish. Substance is way more funny. But anyway, The Substance plays with identity. If you think about Severance, the TV show on Apple, where it plays with the dual identity concept. Same deal here with The Substance. It's any outie, those are Severance terms. Playing with that idea. So it's so deceptive to think that The Substance is just about feminine beauty standards. While that is clearly the main thing that it wants to talk about, to the point where it's almost comically simple and comically throwing you over the head, hitting you with the hammer with that idea. It is looking at so many other aspects. One of the things I wish they made a little bit more clear in that movie is how they are connected, these two entities, Sue and Elizabeth, because it's repeated over and over. You are one, you are one, you are dependent on each other. And why does Elizabeth want to keep doing this experience when Sue clearly abuses it? But I think we can also take that as like, well, there's something to be said there too. Like, even though this experience is destroying Demi Moore's body, she still wants to do it because there's a part of her, whether she is conscious of what this part is doing or not, there's a part of her that is living the young Hollywood starlet life. And she wants that to continue.
Yeah, I think their consciousnesses are linked, but not the same. Mm-hmm. Yeah, so she's still, when Margaret Qualley is getting famous and going on talk shows and, sleeping with these hot guys and whatever, I think Demi Moore knows that that's happening, but is not technically experiencing it. So just even this tangential, this like tiny bit of this thing that she used to have, she'll claw to keep it, even though she is becoming like an old crone.
Oh, I love her ending transformation, by the way, of where she's like,
just it's fucking incredible. Oh, God, I love that movie so much. I love it so much. And I know it's not going to win Best Picture. I know it's not the kind of movie to do that. But the fact that it's even in the conversation brings me just intense joy.
Yes.
Because it should be.
And there you go. So your picks are The Brutalist, but you'd love The Substance. Substance fan line will take place right after this podcast is done, where Lauren and Alison will take your calls on all things The Substance. It'll be I'm sure it'll work its way into peak cinema within not too long in the future. We'll have to wait and see when that happens. Ryan, you and I have sat here in the distance here and kind of taken these in. Do you have a pick for tonight?
I mean, The Brutalist is going to win, but I would again like to sing the praises of my favorite movie of the year, Conclave.
Peter Travers says that he picked Conclave. He did pick Conclave. Of course, Peter Travers doesn't know shit, but he did pick Conclave with you.
I love this movie. I've watched it probably 4 or 5 times in the last month. It's quickly becoming one of my comfort movies just because it's nice to put on and just listen to in the background. And again, I'm a sucker for any movie that is a critique of religious society. So I will continue to watch this movie.
No matter what happens.
I think it's great.
No matter what happens, I think we can all agree Emilia Perez cannot
win.
No,
that's what we agree.
Not.
Everything about that. Can I just end this on a rant on Emilia Perez, and everyone can come in and add to it. That's how we can end this hour-and-a-half long podcast, because I think it just needs to be said, even though the discourse around Emilia Perez is everywhere. We've been alluding to it throughout this podcast. Let's just wrap our things up. I won't get into the transphobia too much. I won't get into the racism too much, because that has been talked about to death. It's trans representation is like she doesn't actually deserve to be a woman. She's pretending to be like weird stuff like that. It's very much written by a cis man. The Mexican representation, bad Spanish, Duolingo Spanish. Here's the type of issue that it really is. Whatever you think about the music, whatever you think about the acting, all of it boils down the writing. I have not seen enough about the nuts and bolts, the basic nuts and bolts about the writing of Emilia Perez being so bafflingly horrible. Like, let's just look at some basic writing elements that every single one of these films, even the weirdo Substance, even the Honora, the Brutal, even A Complete Unknown, which is as basic of a biopic as you can get, where he's singing every 2 minutes. Oh my God, he played Blowing in the Wind. Oh my God, he played Masters of... That's the entire movie. I just summed up the entire movie of a complete unknown. Emilia Perez is ambitious to the point where it crumbles under its own weight for subjects that its filmmakers clearly did not care enough to explore. It wanted to talk about Mexican drug cartel issues, trans issues, and all that, but it didn't care to explore them. It didn't care to research them. It just wanted to talk about Oscar bait. But what are these characters' wants? What are these characters' stakes to those wants? Like, if we don't, why is Emilia Perez so rushing to have a criminal lawyer, of all people, to help her with her transition? Oh, but you gotta hurry up. Why? And why is Rita going to Israel when Bangkok seemed like such a lovely place? Where was the establishment? Was there something wrong with Bangkok? And Rita taking, this is going to go all over the place, just live with it.
I was going to say, keep it going. It's great. It's great.
Why is Rita taking on this idea when it is established that she thinks there's a lot of corruption in the legal system in her world? Here's a drug cartel leader saying, help me transition. And we have no idea why she is taking this job and what she feels about taking this job. And when she achieves this, right after she's living her life, Emilia Perez approaches her again out of serendipity, bring my family back, which is so out of the blue, by the way, too. Like the first scene, the family goes to Switzerland. The next scene, bring my family back. Bullshit. Rita says, yeah, I'll hang out with you still, even though it's very clear that she's scared of Emilia. And then go on, let's form an NGO. Why? Emilia, I thought you wanted to be with your family. You hardly ever spend time with your family. But no, let's have a scene where an NGO is magically formed. There's no obstacles. There's no struggle to any of these wants. There's no sense of achievement to these wants being made. It feels like a hobby. Okay. And nothing feels earned in this film. Nothing feels genuinely wanted. It's just like a passive. I would like my career to succeed. The biggest want is Emilia transitioning, which happens again in a scene, in some magical realism. Like, that's how transition works. The most complete arc of this entire film is Selena Gomez's story, and that is being generous. We have a clear want. She wants to move on from her dead spouse. She does things to achieve that want, which is more than any of these characters can do. She rekindles an old flame. And then she wants to marry that old flame and move on. Like, this is sequential. This is cause and effect. And then at the end, she realizes that her spouse never actually died and tries to come back, which is a little weird. Like, I thought you wanted to move on, but I kind of get why you're like, want it. And
are we going to get sued? I'm just trying to figure. I'm doing the research here to make sure that we don't say anything that's really offensive. No, I'm just kidding. Keep. I love this.
I am being all over the place, which is very much in line with the movie. But you can go take the floor, Lauren, please.
This whole movie, I mean, it's hard to talk about it.
Yeah.
In a linear fashion, because it feels like how like when you're in the 9th grade and they're like, just write stream of consciousness, anything that and then we'll do something with it. That's what this film feels like.
Yep.
It's just all, you're right. We could talk about ad nauseum how it is fully offensive to Mexican. I mean, this movie is created by a white cis French guy. This is a French movie, not a Mexican movie.
I will say, in and of itself, is not bad. Like, I am not opposed to directors or even actors portraying cultures that they are not originally a part of. The important thing, though, the caveat, though, for doing that is that you you do that because you care about the material and you want to know them. Do you know how easy it is for a filmmaker who says, I want to make a film about a transgender cartel leader, how many resources there are available to bring that to life? Transgender consultants.
And this guy's like, he's like very, not particularly here, but he's like very well known in France. You had the resources.
Yep.
You did not give a shit. You know, if Martin Scorsese can have, oh shit, I can't, I sound
Colors
awful.
of the Flower Moon.
What's the name of the tribe?
Yeah, not Cherokee.
Oh, Jesus Christ.
Oh boy.
Sorry, I haven't seen that movie since it came out, but he had a consultant from that actual tribe. Thank you. On the film so that he could get certain things right. This movie is like, this is just like, oh, I guess I think I know what it's like in Mexico. I guess I think I know what it's like to transition. It's terrible. I mean, if you want, let me, before I ream the rest of this movie, if you want to watch a movie that is trying to explain the trans experience to people who are not trans, watch I Saw the TV Glow.
Yes.
Moving on. Amazing movie.
That was a 7-minute Emilia Perez, anti-Emilia Perez paid program. Today's program brought to you in part by Emilia Perez, the film that you should not vote for tonight here at the Academy Awards.
Top 5 worst movies I've ever seen.
Tim, I have a just one little addendum to that whole rant. You ready for it?
Yeah, go ahead.
Here's how I would describe that movie, just in my experience.
Okay.
Real quick, like
the clearing of the throat.
Sucks.
Just go ahead. We summed it all up in one word right there. On our way out the door tonight, 90 minutes of podcast there. We got our picks. I hope you enjoyed the Oscars tonight. Hope you enjoyed the podcast. Thanks for listening in. And thanks to all of our Peak Cinema guys and everybody, Alison, Lauren, Ryan back in here tonight. On our way out the door, no doubt they will spend time tonight. Conan, the gang, everybody will spend time tonight talking about the late, great Gene Hackman this evening. Easily my favorite actor of all time. Passed away this week. And I don't think that story's done because I definitely think there's some interesting things going on with that story that we still don't think we really know. And maybe that'll be something for a later podcast at a later time. But as far as just career goes, easily my favorite actor growing up. No doubt, probably 3 or 4 of my favorite movies of all time. French Connection, Hoosiers, The Firm is right there as one of my all-time favorite movies. People love Enemy of the State, Crimson Tide. Just go right down the line. Unforgiven. I mean, there's so many great movies. So if you have not seen some Gene Hackman films in the last, we did the Birdcage on the pod over the summer. So like we've had a little Gene Hackman love on our podcast. We might need to investigate that a little bit further as we go, but RIP to one of the greatest actors of all time. His role in Mississippi Burning is worth the price of admission. If you've never seen Mississippi Burning, go see it. You will love it. If nothing else for Gene Hackman, he kicks ass in that film, just for the record. So that's us on the way out the door today. Thanks again to everybody who listens to the podcast. We appreciate you. Like, subscribe, leave a comment. You can find us anywhere you get your podcast. Support Alison over at Medium, AlisonWonchoba.medium.com, where she writes pretty much all the time. She's also running her own writing company. If you need help learning how to write stuff, you want to become a great film writer or great story, novel writer, any kind of writer, go see Alison. Alison can tell you how to write. She's going to be working with our speech team on writing next year. Count on that. We're all going to get better because we have Alison in our lives. Lauren is always one of the smartest people. I'm turning over decorations of our speech tournament next year 100% to Lauren. Lauren is going to spookify, beautify, nightmarify our speech tournament next year when we host it. And it's going to be on the back of her doing all the great stuff that Lauren does day in and day out. Ryno works for me at the speech team. What more needs to be said? Ryno and I have had a long season, and we're winging our way towards the end of it. And him and I will have to sit down, hug it out, child it away, do stuff like that. That's coming out real soon. Ryno, you doing okay?
Yeah, I'm great.
We'll have to talk later, you and me. You got that face like you want to talk, but we're out of time here at the pod. So we're going to do that until next time. Thanks everybody for listening in. Keep your head up. and we'll see it.